everybody. This is Shop Shock, Retail and Technology. I'm Chuck, and this is Deanne,
Mhm.
and we're retail experts, and we are here to talk about what's happening in retail and technology. To start off real quick, we've got what we call a shocker, sort of that big thing that's popping up about retail in the moment. It sounds been there, done that. This is a level of quality I haven't seen before. So it's the virtual try on, and it's from a company called Swap Commerce. They have this video try on, like live video tool. And on one side is the products, sort of like a typical retail e-commerce catalog that you can then drag over to the video window that you're in, and it will put that product on you and not just like hover it in front of you, but it acts as if it's on you to the point where the fabric moves the way it would move if it were on you. It is really impressive. And I know that for consumers, that it's that upfront experience. In their documentation, the company Swap Commerce talks about confidence and purchase confidence, especially with apparel. Even like moving the needle at Skosh is going to make a big difference. What I saw, I can see how that would happen. On the back end, of course, it could potentially, that confidence could potentially hit return numbers. And I know, Deanne, you know some actual details about the
Oh,
operational side of
it's
it.
huge. Retailers lose over 15% of their sales every year to returns. I mean, that's like hitting themselves over the head with a hammer every year.
Yeah.
Just, take 15% of your revenue and cut it off and throw it into the garbage every year.
So is that 15% of e-com? It hits the e-com numbers harder, I would say.
Much, much harder. Oh, yes.
And
Return
and
rates, I
so
think, with e-commerce are 20% versus 7% for brick and mortar.
yeah, and with agentic shopping, however that rolls out, and I'm still skeptical about whether or not it's actually significant numbers. Again, engineers talking about we're going to probably see more of that. The more the agents get in there and start making purchases that aren't quite right, we're going to see a spike in that probably.
Yeah.
So
I think it's going to be a game changer because it is one of the biggest friction points for consumers on e-commerce, but it's also a friction point in stores because you get into a store and you really don't want to go into a changing room and try stuff on, especially bathing suits.
yeah,
Bathing suit season. Oh my God.
yeah, I always sort of rationalize that I'm going to be underwater most of the time. Nobody's going to see it.
Yeah, it could be a real game changer. And imagine being able to eliminate change rooms from stores without eliminating the ability to try things on. You could create a real fitting room experience without having to, I don't know, you could really create a fitting room engagement around being able to try things on. Anyways,
I'm going to take a pause on that one because there's AI can never, at least so far, simulate what a piece of fabric feels on your body.
No.
You got to stand in front of a mirror and doubt yourself first, and then get reassurance from the salesperson, and then go ahead and buy it anyway. So
yeah. Let the salesperson lie to you. That looks fabulous on you, darling.
Well, see, again, this is one of the things I think has the most potential in any kind of new technology is if we can emulate and scale really good salespeople. I don't want to put salespeople out of business, but if we can enable that behavior in the humans and add to that I hate the word virtual because that assumes that it's not really an experience, but a digital experience online that has the same kind of stuff that a human would do. And that it's the thoughtfulness, it's the paying attention to the human connection between two people that literally just met, but have the same agenda. Get me into something that I like and I will give you money for. There's definitely potential there.
No, I think it's a great shocker. It's underrated, but hugely important because it could really be a game changer for retail, especially e-commerce.
Our main topic today is Wayfair. And I'll say this, the reason I thought this was interesting is there's been plenty written and thought about of online brands doing physical stores. But this is one of the few that have gone big box. It's very much similar to a large format Dick's Sporting Goods or a small format Macy's or Nordstrom. These stores are pretty impressive, and I happen to visit the one in Wilmette, outside of Chicago, a couple of weeks ago, and it was interesting to see a prototype. And
Mhm.
you have recently visited the second store in Atlanta. What did you think?
I find it fascinating. So it was very different from the photos I saw from your visit. It was
Mhm.
a single story, big box store. It was very much like a cross between IKEA, Rooms to Go, with a little dash of Home Depot thrown in.
That's
It did
interesting.
not nearly have the style of your Chicago store.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I have thoughts and opinions about this because for our listeners that might not know our deep backgrounds, we both came up through store design. So we know the intricacies of rolling out concepts and,
Yes.
doing a prototype and getting a lot of splashy attention for it. And then whether or not those parts get scaled is a completely different game. So what's happened here is Wayfair, for whatever their reasons were, decided that they needed a physical store and not just an outlet or a way to get rid of returns or whatever. This is a full-on showcase. They hired Gensler, which is a very famous architecture firm. They have a significant retail practice. Although I looked at their website and the description of this store on their website is as dry as having lunch with an architect, unless you're talking about architecture. And so I read, believe me,
It's dry even for talking about
yes,
architecture.
I have worked with architecture firms. I've worked at architecture firms. I've worked with architects, and I love them. They're cut from a different cloth, and they're so vital to the process. But when they describe stuff, they just can't seem to get excited about it. So anyway,
Well, and
I
they came up with the concept of the neighborhood, and they designed this concept around these neighborhoods, as they call them,
yeah,
the mattress neighborhood, the market square neighborhood, the shower neighborhood. All of these areas were considered neighborhoods that they designed the store around, these major features. And there were, I think, up to 9 or 14 of them, whatever.
there's 19.
19. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
which
Okay. Yeah.
for me it was like, okay, that's a lot
That's a
to
lot.
organize around. Now, I don't know if that's aligned with product categories or if they created those solely for that one store. Was the Atlanta store broken out like that?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It was broken out. It wasn't broken out into 19 categories. Some of the categories were mashed together in a very confusing way. The wayfinding was terrible. They have obviously watered down the concept since Chicago, but there's a lot of customization, I think, from Chicago, which is, I think, a more sophisticated market than Atlanta.
Hmm.
It's sophisticated in a different way. Atlanta's not unsophisticated, but it
Yeah.
is a different market for sure. It's interesting. You talked about wondering why. I think Wayfair has had a really interesting ride because they started out as this e-commerce company that came out guns a-blazing, and they really shook up the home goods world. I personally love this company and I'm rooting for them because to me, they offer an alternative to the two polar ice caps, as I call them. I love design. I have incredibly expensive taste, as many ex-architects tend to have. On one ice cap, you have the mainstream design stuff that is very similar. Everybody has it. It's not very expensive. It has a short lifespan. There's very limited choices. You see it everywhere and it's not very inspiring. And at the other end is the stuff that I tend to love that I can't afford. The $20,000 sofa, the $16,000 light fixture.
I know.
It's beautiful stuff, but nobody can afford it. Wayfair they somehow found that middle ground. They had both ends a little bit, but they also had that stuff in the middle that was a little unique, a little more expensive, but you could have something that was a little bit different. But they have yet to make a profit.
Which is interesting because any other retailer wouldn't be able to get away with that.
Right.
Right? It's year over year growth and profitability.
Yeah.
And you don't roll out stores if you can't prove the model. But they have another model that they're banking on, right? Their revenue really comes from online sales. So it's different than what we're used to in retail with sort of store first mentality. I think that it's interesting that they invested what they did in that Chicago store. It's near Wilmette. which is an affluent neighborhood, part of the Chicago suburbs, but it's not a luxury brand. And the sort of categorization or the stratification of, good, better, best, or whatever, is interesting in this space, because on the first floor it comes across as maybe a slightly better home goods. There's a lot of stack it high, let it fly, to, I think, evoke a value sensibility, like, oh, there's 150 pots here, let's grab two, they're only $20 each, or they're only $40, whatever.
Right.
And it's that massing out technique, which, Gensler knows what they're doing. And it's probably good that they went to a firm like that could really translate some of these requirements or these ideas from the digital space into the physical space. Whether or not they can operationally scale that in future stores, sounds like maybe they're not doing that. But giant atrium and big screens that introduce these, the branding and stuff. They had custom wallpaper that was really fun and interesting.
Well, they have a signature purple too, like
right?
Wayfair purple.
But I wonder if the neighborhood idea came from their advertising first or the store design first, because they did that in their advertising.
It came from the store design first, because Gensler established it, and then they hired a company, Havas. So Gensler worked with Havas Chicago to do the advertising on the Chicago Wayfair Chicago store, to roll out the concept of welcome to the neighborhood.
Because they use that in their national advertising at one point, right? I think they had Kelly Clarkson as their big spokesperson.
Oh yeah, Kelly Clarkson really helped turn the corner for them. They've really been working hard at trying to call it a comeback, because they've really needed one. I mean, they're a company that lost, I think, $1.3 billion in a single year, but they've been slowly reducing those losses every single year. And this is the first year where they've actually started to almost turn the corner into the black. And so they're really on the hairy edge of making a profit. And it's really kind of exciting for them. And I think it's all due to their store strategy, because they really felt like, well, they've been dancing around this for a long time. For the past 10 years, they've been practicing with pop-up stores. Mm-hmm. And what they've learned is their concept really doesn't work as a pop-up, because it's volume, it's selection, it's choice. All this huge amount of choice that they have really can't be conveyed in a pop-up. And so those pop-ups really didn't work very well. And so that's why they've started thinking about these 150,000 square foot stores. They really felt like they needed this size to really convey the full breadth of the choice they have. And even then, it doesn't even touch on the full range of what their catalog offers. So
right. So online, it's a marketplace, right?
Yes.
You can even see, because of the sourcing in China and let's say non-America, because God knows where the sourcing is going with all the changes that are happening. You can see the same item that's probably made in the same factory with different prices, different brand names, different configurations, if you will, but kind of mostly the same. Yeah. And because it's a marketplace, and they will bring everything and anything in. And one of the questions my partner and I had as we were walking through, and he's a visual merchandising guy, was how do they pick what gets to the store? Because you got to like put parameters on it somewhere, and like they have this really great shower display that actually is plumbed and has a way to turn on the shower would, And there's lots of stories in design centers and stuff that would show this off, but it was really well thought out, really well done. Nice understated use of LED signage technology that wasn't letters and stuff. It was just sort of atmospheric. They gave the sense of like being in a spa kind of thing that framed this display. It was probably 20 linear feet long, and there were several points around the store like that, almost beacons or milestones throughout the store that sort of gave the relief from the sort of massing out of stuff. And with things like shower heads, you can mass those out, but they didn't have a lot of mass market. They weren't trying to compete with Home Depot and Lowe's there. Those items were a little higher end, so they're a little like the top end of what you see at Home Depot and Lowe's, and maybe, but not like super expensive hardware. When it came to the accessories and stuff, linens and pillows and that sort of thing, that's very much like I think like a home goods, like I said, maybe a little higher end. One of the things I thought was interesting was their use of digital signage, digital price tag. Every one of them had a QR code on it that you could scan, and it would take you to the website. There was a lot of moments in the store that sort of drove you to the website.
Was it digital price tags at your end, or was it electronic shelf labels? Atlanta store had electronic shelf labels.
Yeah, ESLs. I don't know the difference, but I should know the difference. What's the difference?
Electronic shelf labels are that e-ink.
Right. Yeah, that's what it was.
Okay.
They each had a QR code, and the first one, and I think I took some pictures of this because I did a screenshot of what it brought up. So there was this rug that I thought was really cool, and I did the QR code to see what it would do, and it took me to a different rug. I think it was the same manufacturer. It was probably the same rug with a different pattern. So from a SKU architecture perspective, categorization, or however they organize their catalog, that link was probably right, but it didn't show the same exact rug. It was black and white rug. Both were black and white rugs, but it was a different pattern. And I was like, okay, so not 100%. I did that a few other times throughout the visit, and it was almost always accurate. And that's just the way things are when it comes to digital technologies. You strive to be perfect, but there's signage throughout the store, and every item, almost every item has ESLs, right? And yeah, and they first of all, the hang tag version of that is so familiar, and it's really great. I'm glad that they finally got to this level with these things. But there's signage and stuff throughout the store that sort of directs you in a particular area or department, like the best way to buy it. So like these items are better if you order them from the website. These are grab and go, grab a bag and throw it in your bag, which I thought was interesting because it sort of guided you through this process. Yeah, that's the rug that I was looking for, and it came a very different rug came up. But I thought the inclusion of the signage that directs you to the channel, so to speak, I've never seen that before in a store, and it makes a lot of sense, especially with a digitally native brand like this. And I think it's something that other retailers might. It's just this little thing, but you can't hold all of this stuff in inventory in that store, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the way furniture and appliance businesses work. To get ahead of the customer on that, to show them and not have to have a staffer explain that to you was an interesting point, I thought.
Now that's a digital sign, a large digital sign that I'm looking at in this. And is this the Market Square area?
Yeah, this would be the central atrium that was mostly accessories, candles and mugs and throw pillows and that sort of thing. The linens, bed and bath linens are on the second floor and very different. Actually,
now, the interesting thing here is the cash. One of the biggest customer complaints that's popping up online is lack of enough cash registers in stores. These are massive store, 150,000 square feet. The store I was in was swamped. There were people everywhere, and there aren't very many caches. My store had these same 2 banks of cash registers checkout, and they didn't have people with automatic roving POSs either. Now I know you can buy and have it shipped, but still, it just
very much enabled the this is a showroom, buy on your phone kind of situation, but like you said, it's a physical store. I'm not surprised those cash wraps are inundated. These are interesting moments throughout the store that sort of introduce you to what you're about to walk into, sort of samples and here's the color differences for frames, or these are on the main aisle or the main drive aisle on the second floor. It breaks up the space very nicely, and it gives you a sense of these 19 neighborhoods. They don't actually call them that in the store, which I think is good. You don't need to be too pedantic about that kind of thing. People know that that's a lighting department. I'm going to go look at lighting.
And then you had this is your custom mural?
Yeah, this is the wallpaper that they had throughout, sort of in the hallways down to the restrooms and ancillary areas, sort of between departments or whatever. And it's it's that neighborhood kind of vibe, right? If you remember the ads, it has this, this is an interesting interpretation of it for in a physical space. What's that technique called? It's a type of fabric.
Oh, tulle.
Tulle.
Toile or
Well,
toile.
yeah.
Toile.
Yeah.
That's fun to say.
Yeah. Anyway, it's kind of interesting because you get to put all these sort of brand elements and it looks like a pattern from far away, but
Yeah.
you look at it in more detail, it's like, oh, you're getting this is a way to get that story across of
Well,
different
that's
homes
Chicago, right? That's landmarks from Chicago.
maybe could be. I didn't grab the ones that were obvious, but what I thought was interesting, it shows different kinds of homes, the sort of cul-de-sacs, the row homes, the apartment buildings and stuff like that, and the truck. Like, we're going to deliver this to you.
Here's mine. The one in Atlanta that was custom done, and there's 3 sides to this, but that's the Wayfair building in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
It was designed by Rome Mural Collab. The artists were Ellie Borromeo and Xavier Ringer. It's titled Welcome Home, and it's really landmarks of Atlanta, the Fox Theater, and on either side, different sides, I think there's some Peachtree Street and various other things on the other side that I didn't take a picture of. This is when it was a work in progress. It's hard to take a picture of it because it's on multiple sides. It's I think every mural is customized to the city it's in. The Atlanta store was really quite different from the Chicago store. It was built, 2 years after Chicago?
I think the Chicago store has been up for like 2 years, maybe.
So it's either lessons learned or they're slacking off a little bit because it's not nearly as nice.
It's probably the last one.
There's some things that I liked about it. And one was that they've carried the branding throughout the store.
Yeah, they have these sub brands that have their own sites, but then all that stuff shows up on the Wayfair site. Joss and Main, it's their modern brand.
Yeah, Joss and Main. And what's interesting, I'll just show it really briefly. They have a brand called Paragold. That's a Wayfair brand. They have not included it in the Wayfair stores or the Wayfair experience at all. They've kept those stores separate.
Oh, really?
And I found that really beautiful store. It looks like a Restoration Hardware almost.
Higher end?
Yes, but it's really quite beautiful.
That's interesting.
Anyway, but I love the touches of the house shape of Wayfair, done right throughout the store. I thought that was a nice touch. I thought that the signage was well done. The wayfinding was not well done. There was one sign that I could find in this entire 150,000 square foot store that showed the whole map of the store. So if you got lost, you didn't know that this sign existed, and this was not in an obvious place. It was somewhere in the back of the store. I just stumbled on it. Yep. And then the wayfinding was hung much too high, and it was tiny. It was really hard to read. And it was terrible. The arrows didn't point to anything that made sense. Exit pointed straight ahead to a blank wall. Well, what? Checkout is, do I walk into this wall and then I stop? I mean, could you not give me a little bit more guidance? Maybe some stripes on the floor or something? This is 150,000 square feet. Help me get out of here. I'm tired. Floor plan. Or give me a chair to sit in so I could rest on my way out. Maybe a bed if I'm stuck here all night. I don't know. How about some snacks?
That floor plan is telling, and I think you'll recognize this. The exterior or there's no main drive aisle there, right?
No.
They're all the walkways of the drive aisles are the same. There doesn't seem to be a hierarchy of the space, and usually, and this is proven, it's been proven that this is how it works and you don't really mess with it. That exterior circle that should be wider to give you more of a sense of navigation and views. And then the smaller ones in the middle allow you to do more exploring, like deeper into.
This was designed by somebody who was very focused on the space, not on a product designer, on a store designer. This was designed by a space designer, not a store designer.
Yeah, you can just that one picture, any sort of general picture in the Wilmette store is going to show you a sense of warmth, and this is not. This is just looks warehousey, like you said.
Well, and it was converted from an existing building. There were challenges with the building. It had been on fire before it was acquired by Wayfair. So there was some, there was some work to be done, but still,
Yeah,
there's
they could
no
have painted
limit
that
to
wall.
it. Yeah.
That back wall could have been a little bit more interesting just to
Oh, the
warm it up a
ceiling.
little
They could have hung features from the ceiling to warm it up. I mean,
bit.
there's all kinds of.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I really loved was the context they put everything in. They set things up beautifully, like this
Yeah,
dining
that's a
table.
nice
They put
vignette.
plates, light fixtures. They put carpets, and they layered the carpets, and they put all the furniture. But more importantly, and pictures on the wall behind it, so you could really visualize yourself sitting down to a meal at this table. And what I really loved is this little tiny sign that they hung on the wall back there, so that anything that you saw in this room, you could instantly see how much it costs. And there was a QR code that would take you to figuring out how to get it. So
Yeah.
it was easy to get to everything, but to be able to see the price without having to jump through hoops, without having to use the QR code, that was huge to me, because I get so sick and tired of having to open up your phone and jump to a website and scroll and figure things out, when all you really just want to know is it under $100? Is it over
Yeah.
$1,000? Give me a ballpark so I can know, is it even remotely in my budget before I fall in love with it.
Well, that's the visual communication hierarchy, right? You get
Yes,
the display, and then you get this top level information, the pricing. And if you want to go deeper, you can with the QR code. I think this is one of the best uses of ESL technology that fits into the way we shop, the way we perceive things, the way we take in information and
exactly.
process. That's that level of detail that you get down to before you make a purchase decision.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
these are medium to high consideration items.
yeah,
For some people, they're like, yeah, we need a bench, just get a bench. But
yeah.
the dining table and the rugs and all that is a little higher consideration.
The other thing I loved was that everywhere in the store was a sign to help you understand the size of something, the color of something, like more sizes, more colors online. If you saw a pillow you liked but didn't see the color you liked, don't worry, go online. There's more. The size of the patio umbrella that you need. This shows you visually how many people this umbrella will cover. And they had that everywhere in the store.
Yeah.
What kind of air purifier do you need? How big a room will this air purifier do? What kind of vacuum cleaner is this? All of these things. And then signs everywhere. And they were so well positioned. I couldn't help but think that somebody who really understood operational retail and the consumer mindset went through and figured out exactly where those moments of hesitation in a consumer's mind through the customer journey would happen. And they put a sign just where you started thinking, wow, I really like this couch, but how am I going to get it home? Oh,
Yeah.
look, I can have it delivered. Oh, I really love this dining room table, but I can't afford it. Oh, look, I can I can buy it and pay over time. Oh,
Yeah.
look, I can have this lawn ornament delivered to my house because it's too heavy to carry. If you want a French bulldog made of concrete or a lion for your front porch, you can have it delivered.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this: the signage is really well done. Like you said, it's placed well, it's designed well, but there's not too much. There's
Right.
there's some real restraint here,
Yeah.
and to your point about wayfinding, that definitely could have been better. But at this level, that gets into the
It was
selling.
brilliant. And the
Yeah.
like design services, I sat in a couch and just sitting on the coffee table or on the end table or something on the couch was a small sign saying free design services, work one-on-one with a designer. So you could think, free design services to see what would look good in my living room. Wow. And it really gets you thinking, and it really makes you feel good about Wayfair. It makes you feel like, oh, I could think of what I could have. Wow. And I think it's somebody really who understands the consumer mindset had their way with the signs in this store. On
Yeah.
the other hand, whoever worked in the lighting department had no clue what they were doing, because the fans in the store were hung so high you couldn't see them at
Yeah.
all. The light fixtures, the ceiling fixtures were hung so low, they were ankle height, so you couldn't even see. I bent down to take the picture that you see here of
Hmm.
these pendant light, the ceiling light fixtures, and you still can't really get a good look at what they look like.
Yeah, we had the same call-outs. Although I will say for the ceiling light, it was nice to bring them down to more of an eye level. Like that bottom row
Sure,
doesn't
eye
work,
level, yes. Ankle level, no.
but usually those are mounted on the ceiling
Yeah.
and it's really hard to tell what they look like, right? So
Yes.
this was a good idea, maybe not executed well, but you're absolutely right on the fans. We had
Yeah.
the same call out. Yeah.
And then I just took a picture of 3 things that were my favorite in the whole store. And there's stupid things that I never see in any retailer that I just wanted to go up and hug somebody in Wayfair operations. And that was trash cans at the back of the store. How many times have you been in a store and you've finished your drink and you can't find a frickin' garbage
You end
can
up leaving it on a shelf.
and the Wayfair bags in the back of the store, everywhere throughout the store, they had bags so that if you decided to buy something, you turned a corner and there was a carry bag to put it in. Just like baskets or carts, most stores don't even think that you have it at the front of the store only. And so you have to either run back to the front of the store to get it or you forget about it. And the other thing was the games. They didn't mind if kids played on those games because if the parents saw their kids playing on the games, and more likely that they buy them. And the kids saw a staff person walking by and they said, oh, stop. And the staff person said, oh no, have fun. It was great.
That's great. Especially you don't see those items very often in a regular like furniture store, right? It's a home store and people want these things, but they end up having to go to weird other showrooms to get them. So that's kind of a nice touch.
Yeah, I don't know about your store, but the Market Square here, I did not understand. And that's another thing, like the wayfinding, they had these tiny little circles hung from the ceiling in strategic places periodically, a few places around the store, identifying a section. Like this was Market Square, and they had bedroom, they had living, they had a few that showed where a section was identified. This was Market Square. But the Market Square had too many different things going on. And so inside the Market Square, they had the trend shop, the plant shop, the coastal shop. They had all of these candles and vases and other things, but they weren't facing in to make it look like a market square. They were facing in odd directions, so you really couldn't see one from the other. Nothing could have felt less like a square than anything I've ever seen. It didn't flow. It didn't look like a square. It didn't feel like a square. Nothing really went together. It just looked like, oh, we have a bunch of random nuts and bolts left over. Let's just throw them on a shelf and see if they sell.
I see what you mean. That circle fixture is just the wrong scale for that.
Wrong scale.
Like,
it should have been
like a top level.
8 or 10 times bigger. Yes.
Yeah.
It's probably maybe 4 feet across, 3 feet across. And in a 150,000 square foot store, that looks like it's about 5 inches.
Well, it's easy to ignore, you know?
And it's hung so high that you really don't even notice it. And the only reason I noticed it is because I look for these things.
Yeah, you're right. That Market Square, I think the architecture in the Wilmette store cases it more because it's in that central atrium and the escalators flank it. You have this defined space. Here,
But they could have, if they turned everything inward and made it look like a square, and they had the plant shop, the coastal shop, that they could have made it look like little booths lined up around a market square or something, that it wouldn't have been hard.
We saw the coastal shop in the Chicago store, and we were both like, okay, I can see this in Atlanta or North Carolina or even the West Coast maybe, but the lobsters kind of belay this very East Coast.
You have a coast in Chicago. Yeah.
Chicago's coastal aesthetics are not this. We don't spend a lot of time in the Chicago suburbs in homes that would carry that, so it could be viable, but it just seemed odd to us.
The other big miss that I saw in a lot of locations around the Atlanta store that I just was disappointed in was, so you see this Smeg mixer. This is about $1,000, and it's kind of plopped here in the middle of the home goods section, right across from some low-end Lodge frying pans that price topped out at about $40. And everything around this was, caraway, like you see sold in Target, lower end stuff. And it's really merchandised very poorly. And it's sitting on an unattractive display. And you'd think that you could maybe make it look a little more desirable.
Yeah, that's a weird moment, if you will, like in the pathway, those
Yeah.
two little fixtures. It just looks like they didn't know what to do with
Well,
those.
and I think they have a grudge against Smeg because the next one is this $3,000 Smeg vintage look mint green fridge, which is beautiful, sitting in an area beside Stanley mugs. And the ugly piece of furniture beside it is a $250, very cheap looking cabinet, kitchen
Yeah.
island cabinet, something like that, with some cheap prints hung over it. And it, like I said, the cabinet was about $250, and it's sitting in an area with candles and Stanley mugs and very inexpensive things. And that's, like I said, a $3,000 Smeg fridge. And
Yeah.
then the other photo in this image, it's not a very good photo, but you're looking at a $5,000 toilet. $5,000 for a toilet that does everything except make breakfast. And it's sitting tucked into a $90 metal
Oh my God.
bathroom rack.
Those things are so cheesy.
And that cabinet that's placed beside it was, I think, $150. So it's really not very well displayed for a $5,000 toilet. And
Yeah.
I just thought, oh my gosh, yeah. And it's in an aisleway that's really in a very poor location.
Yeah, that just seems awkward and weird. I mean, do you think they're trying to highlight the high-end piece with all this other stuff around it and like frame out? Or
oh no, that $90 toilet rack, or I don't know what you call that rack that you put over your toilet, that it's
over
like
the toilet rack, I think is what they're called.
Wow, that makes the whole thing look. Nobody notices it because it's so cheap.
You're attracted to these spaces, if you're attracted to these spaces, which I don't know why you would be, but if you were, when you get to the $5,000 or the $3,000 item, you're gonna be like, "Whoa, that's pricey." These are just the wrong frames for these things. This is the difference between hiring a Gensler who knows what they're doing, but doesn't necessarily know how to operationalize it. This is the issue or the problem with retail prototypes and versus retail operations. You get this sort of set up, beautiful store, and it seems like they're maintaining it pretty well in Wilmette in Chicago, but you see the result of that not being codified, not being cultured into the culture of like display and like standards and things like that in this Atlanta store. The difference is telling. This is that great display I was talking about. That band across the top is interesting. It brings you in. It gives you a sense of water. You can see it from far away. It's interactive and it's fun. I think it works well.
I loved this because you could push a button and see how each shower head worked. It would have been nicer if you could have felt the pressure, but I understand the challenges behind that. But this is better than nothing. And this is supposedly one of their main features, one of the key elements that the store was built around. The other one was this mattress area. And I thought, while the shower one was done really well, it had a digital screen above it and everything, a lot of movement. The mattress one was rather dead. It didn't have any movement, no signage, signage, but nothing really about it made you want to be there.
Well, there's no hierarchy to that space. So some of those displays should be taller than the others. It just looks flat. I mean, mattresses are notoriously hard to display, especially when you have this many. And I mean, the process of like buying them and laying on them and all that, IKEA does a pretty good job of breaking up their spaces with this, but I worked on a large format furniture store several years ago, but I remember it was the same kind of thing. You have this really dynamic environment, and then you got to put mattresses in there somewhere, and it's like, it just deadens everything around it. And this just looks like theater lobby or something. I don't, it's weird.
And there was nothing. I walked around, and there's signs to tell you what each mattress is, but there's nothing to tell you the attributes of the mattress. Why is this Tempur-Pedic better than that Tempur-Pedic? What's different about them? There was no staff person around, which I found odd because there were staff people freaking everywhere
else
in the furniture, and it felt like a very high pressure sales on the furniture side. I had people coming up to me every 5 minutes. Can I help you? Can I help you? Can I help you? Coming up to everybody.
They figured out commission sales.
If that's what it felt like. It was very very uncomfortable on the furniture side. So I was really mystified why they didn't have that on the mattress side.
I noticed that there's a lot of cardboard boxes on the floor.
Yeah, those are the
Yeah,
foam
yeah,
mattresses. Yes.
yeah. And there were boxes in that Smeg, the mixer,
Yeah.
and the Lodge pans. There were boxes stacked up by
Yeah,
that.
they encourage you. That's one of the things about the stores is they're encouraging you to take it home with you.
Yeah, did not see that in Wilmette. That
Oh,
just looks,
really?
yeah, that looks
Interesting.
sloppy. Wilmette store didn't have that.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that they're pushing in the Atlanta store. They want you to take it home if possible. Have it today if you can.
Yeah,
If it's
yeah,
in your
it makes
car,
sense.
take it home. We'll help you.
But it's
And
ugly.
yeah,
It's like it's not IKEA. It's not the IKEA warehouse.
yeah.
This is the ESL. Is this what came up
Yeah,
with
this
when
is,
you?
I just took a sample. This was, you take a picture of the QR code and it takes you to the website that lets you see exactly what it is, and you can order it and have it shipped to your house. Very
And the
easy.
same price. It's the same price, which is
Yeah,
always a question mark for people.
I know. I was impressed. That was well done. And this was well done. This is the sheet and towel area, which had a bathtub diorama. I call it a diorama display, which I thought was a nice touch. A lot of people forget that it puts you in the mood, the mindset. You think
Yeah.
about the relaxation of being in the tub. This is why I'm here. Puts you in the mindset. Then you go and feel the towels. Not having that when you shop in something like a Target or a Walmart, you don't have that sense of a luxury bathing experience in mind. So you buy different towels. So I thought this was a really nice touch. But see, they built a little frame over it so that it eliminates that
Drop the
ugly
ceiling down,
ceiling.
yeah.
You could have done that a lot more places.
Yeah,
And
this
again, they had a
like
clearance area. I don't know if they had that in Chicago.
yes, yeah, they did. I think it was the same purple and yellow
Yeah.
signage and stuff.
But,
all right, well, we picked that one apart.
There were
We
some
both
things that
love
were
doing this.
so well done. The way they connected online and offline was outstanding. One of the best examples of retail that I've ever seen. But yet there were things that were such big glaring misses for a retailer that I guess that because they started as an online company, they still haven't figured brick and mortar out. But they're so far along. They obviously have some really good people working with them in some departments.
Yeah.
They just need to up the ante in other departments. And I think their staff is uneven. It's too high pressure in some areas, and other areas there wasn't enough help. Not enough of the right kind of help.
Yeah, that seems weird.
And the other thing I was really disappointed about was the design center. I didn't show it anything, but the design center was there. It was great, but the choices of options that they had was very limited. So I went in and thought, okay, I'm going to pretend I'm picking out a kitchen. I didn't see a single choice that I would pick. The cabinets were, I think there were 10 choices of cabinet color, 6 or 7 choices of flooring. It's just very, very limited.
Now that we're talking about this and we're comparing the two, it feels like, I don't know how many cabinets they sell online, but probably not as many as IKEA does. It makes me wonder, like, do they need to be in all of those businesses in all of their channels? It's impossible to carry everything in store that they have online, but they're trying to represent everything and get everything right. And it feels like maybe if they edited the businesses that they're in, because cabinet sales are very different than mixers. Right?
I agree.
And so it just makes me wonder if they shouldn't do some rationalization there. Maybe a 3-year, 4-year track record would help them get there, but it seems like they're trying to do way too much.
They are, and it's having a big effect. So since they opened Willamette, they've seen a 15% higher national average in sales. But what's really important is more than 50% of those customers are new to the Wayfair brand. So they're bringing in more customers and they're bringing in newer customers. And I think that means that physical stores are both a sales channel and a customer acquisition channel for them. Now, Atlanta's too new it only opened March of this year, so it's too new to tell what's going on. But they're planning to roll out more, including a 75,000 square foot one in Columbus next year.
Ohio?
And,
or Georgia.
Columbus,
okay.
Columbus, Ohio. They're going to test a smaller format to see if that works, which is going to be
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Well, there's plenty of business in mid cities like that, so I'll be interested to see how they do a half size version because it's going to have to be more edited. They should have probably retained some level of Gensler in these newer stores. Maybe they do. I don't know, but it's an interesting case study because
yeah.
they I feel like they've really done it differently than most DTC brands going to physical space.
Yeah. Oh, I did find out that on the operational side, they
Hmm.
use Gemini on the Vertex AI system to curate product listings. They figure out what's selling online through the Vertex AI system, and that helps figure out what to stock in the stores. One thing that I'm a little worried about, though, is so they're on the verge of turning a profit, and it's been
Yes.
a long, hard road for them, and they're on a good track, opening more stores. The strategy is working. Now they're hit with tariffs, and now the war has really hit
Yeah.
gas prices. And furniture and large goods are really hurt. Their delivery
Yeah.
prices really have, I think, a 56% impact on delivery prices.
Those are discretionary purchases that people will put off in economy situations like this.
Right,
They'll put
right.
it off. So they're vulnerable.
Yeah, that's right. And it's also impacting the home sales sector. So home sales have kind of come to a screeching halt,
Yeah.
and not buying new homes mean you're not buying new furniture. It's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen. If things start moving quickly, then it just could be a blip that they move past. But if things don't move soon, they could be vulnerable.
Well, it is coming up on time. So thank you for all that background research you did. It was fun to do a compare and contrast in different cities. We both could do this all day, every day.
Yeah. It's fun to do a store dive every now and then. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, with that,
bye.
bye everybody.